Alright, so we're back once again today, and today we're going to be focusing on the Lightning, the Tier 8 Royal Navy destroyer. Now, this ship plays a little bit differently to most other DDs in the game. You have the US DDs that are pretty balanced, pretty hybrid. You have the Royal Navy ones that have a lot, well, then again, I wouldn't say a lot more gunpowder, but they're definitely a lot more focused on gunpowder. That's not to say the torpedoes aren't really effective, they are, but again, it's no shimikaze. So before we get into it, we're going to go over modules. Again, a nice little perk with this patch is that you get premium consumables for free. Well, I say for free. Usually there's some kind of ulterior motive to making them free, but we're going to take Wargaming's word for it and say that they are free, which, you know, saves you a nice little bit of credits at the end of the game. So for upgrades, we're going to go main armaments mod 1, engine room protection, aiming systems, steering gears, and obviously concealment. Again, you can do some other variations of this. I like taking engine room because, my god, the amount of games where your engine gets knocked out, especially in destroyers, is just way higher than any other class of ship. So that's why I focus on engine and like rudder incapacitation so heavily, is because it happens so often. So basically that's the upgrades, pretty straightforward. Again, if you want to go for modifications, you take the hull first, then you take the guns. I think in the replay I don't have the guns yet, but again, it shouldn't make all that much difference. It's a 10% boost. You go from like 11.1 to 12.2. So again, the extra kilometer is nice, but again, it's not massive. It's not gonna suddenly boost you from like 50k damage to 100k damage in the game. So moving on to captain skills, you're gonna want to go preventive maintenance. You can go priority target. It's personal preference. Priority target is nice if you're kind of 1v1 in an enemy DD and, you know, they shoot off torps. You can actually predict that by, you know, how they switch off target and then switch back on. That little downtime shows you that they are shooting torpedoes at you. I like to go preventive maintenance. Again, it plays back into mods being incapacitated. I hate my engine being knocked out. I hate my steering gears being destroyed. It's just one of those things that I really hate. So that's just a personal preference of mine. So go with what you feel like there. Last stand is a given. Survivability expert and also concealment expert. Now there is a little bit of debate for the last three captain skills. I will be going, because this captain will eventually be my daring captain, so I will go superintendent and then over BFT. If the captain isn't going to be used on like a higher tier ship or some other kind of ship, then go BFT. It's generally better than going superintendent. You have 6 smokes. Having 7 isn't going to make all that much difference. You're probably not going to use them all anyways in the game. Again, hydro, 3 hydros is more than enough. Generally, the only reason you use hydro is to spot enemy torpedoes, and seeing as there are only like 3 torpedoes per game, or 3 enemy DDs in a game, 3 charges should be more than enough. For the second 4-point captain, relocation. It's just so useful that you never leave port without it. It's probably one of the most useful tier 4 skills, after obviously concealment expert, for DDs. But I think that covers everything. Yeah, so you go preventive maintenance, last stand, survivability expert, radio location, concealment expert, BFT. If this captain's going to be using something else, go superintendent. And I think that covers pretty much everything. Now I do go adrenaline rush here to get the cooldown reduction or the reload reduction. But again, not 100% necessary. You could probably switch that out for something like Jack of all trades. It might be a bit more useful, but again, your smoke's on such a small cooldown that it's not really going to matter all that much. But with that being said, I think that covers pretty much everything. We can go over the exterior stuff, which is pretty basic. Again, I got this perma camo for the Lightning, but I don't know how I got it. More than likely, a load of people got it. So yeah, that's what I use for this ship. Moving on to signals, you can just take any economic signals you want. Generally for DDs, you're going to want to take Julia Charlie, November Foxtrot, For the lightning, particularly because the fire chance is just so goddamn high on the ship, you take Victor Lima. You take Juliet Whiskey Uno Unaon? I never pronounced that in my life. Increases the chance of causing flooding. And the 5% chance of magazine detonation is cancelled out by the fact that you have the detonation flag right here. So that's a no-brainer. And then secondaries, no, you're not going to take that. But I think that covers everything. You can take the speed flag, Sierra Mike, and you can take, no, you're not going to take that because you're not going to get hit by torpedoes if you're competent. And you can also take India X-ray, which again increases your fire chance by 0.5%, but it's always nice to have. But I think that covers pretty much everything as regards to build. Again, in this game, this ship's going to be a little bit of a hybrid. Probably more swayed towards gunpowder than anything else. But with that being said, I'll let you get into the replay, and I'll see you then. Alright, so we're into the replay now, and the first thing you'll see on my UI is the fact that I disabled AA. And actually, this is probably more important on this map than many others, and considering where I started and where I spawned on the map. If you look, you'll see a big alleyway, basically, is straight in front of me. That is like basically a major attraction for enemy CV planes, especially rocket planes, just to drive straight down there, get easy spotting on the right hand flank or left hand flank, depending on where you're positioned, and just a free drop on enemy DDs or enemy cruisers or whatever. So you'll see almost immediately I turn towards C, because I want to get out of this position. I don't want to be playing on this left hand flank. It's just not useful for me. Where I want to be is kind of a little bit back, but not too much back, where I can still shoot and 1v1 enemy DDs, but don't have to worry about the fact that, you know, there's a radar cruiser nearby or I'm going to get dropped by planes really soon. If I was playing something like the Shimikaze or something of that nature, I would just immediately turn left instead of turning right at the start of the game and just dominate that left-hand flank. Try and get around the edges, try not to be spotted, and, you know, shoot out those torpedoes. But again, luckily we see the Moskva on our left-hand flank. That's why we're steering away. Looks like our predictions was semi-right anyways. Pushing that flank was just a no-go zone. So we pin our hopes basically on trying to contest C at this point. You can see the Benson's already in the cap, and he's going to start capping. If we look at the ships on the map, we can see Republic, Burgoyne, Frederick Globe, Bismarck, Vladivostok, Worcester, Minotaur, Moskva, Algiers, Ostgotland, Benson, and Le Terrible. Look at this. The main ships you have to worry about is the Worcester, the Minotaur, and the Moskva. Now, the Minotaur probably doesn't have smoke. The Worcester has 10 kilometers radar though. And obviously, I'm not sure. I think the Algiers just has hydro. And obviously, the Moskva has 12 kilometer radar. So again, we spot the Moskva, not a radar threat. Worcester is a radar threat, but you know, we put ourselves in front of an island, so there's no risk of taking any damage. And the Minotaur is too far away, even if he does have radar. Now at this point I realize I pushed this flank. Again, I'm protected by the island from the Burgoyne, the Worcester and the Republic, even though they are so close, and it gives me free shots on the Le Terrible. And this is what I like to call a position of like checkmate in World of Warships, where like that Le Terrible is going to die regardless of what he does, because I can push in here and basically spot him. If he wants to keep reversing, he's not going to get all his guns on me, and I can shoot at him for free damage. And if he does want to push out and get away from me, he's going to run into my entire team, and as a result, he's going to die. So it's a very elaborate form of checkmate that you don't actually get all that often. You do see it sometimes in mostly DDs. Other classes not so much, because again they're playing further back, they're not going to get pushed all that hard. And as we see, the Le Terrible goes down. Now even in this position, the only real threat I have is if the Moskva keeps pushing that flank. I get radar by the Worcester, and then, you know, crossfire starts happening. But even then, I can probably reliably dodge the Moskva shells and just accelerate into sea. Hopefully the Republic decides to turn out to the right from where he's positioned right now. That way I can get a free run straight into sea and avoid a lot of the threat. especially if the Burgoyne doesn't decide to keep pushing. If he does, then I'm going to have to quickly evacuate straight out the way I came. Now at this point, I haven't used any of my smokes. There hasn't been a real need. Mostly I'm just looking to get into a better position where I can actually use maybe my torpedoes, or especially my guns in a more effective way. Again, the thing with this ship is that the smokes don't last all that long, so when you do use them, you want to get value for your money. That's why I'm looking at the Burgoyne and the Republic so intensely. The only thing kind of threatening that though is the Worcester. The Worcester radar is really, really a thorn in my backside. Just because of the fact that I can't actually get into a position where I can farm them. I have to sit behind these islands, putting myself between the islands and the Worcester, and hoping not to get shot at. That Minotaur, if you look in the menu up, has basically sat in that position for the past, what, 3 minutes, done nothing. Which is really sad. We see the Benson pushing up on the left hand flank, something I didn't do, for a good reason. Only now is he getting into B, that's with the support of a Moskva. I easily dodge his shells, the shell velocity isn't all that massive, so it allows me just about enough time to dodge them. And now at this point we can pretty much push into C, because even if the Worcester radars me at this point, even though his radar just went down, again, there's an island between me and the radar. So you're never under really significant threat. Now B is being capped, but at this point I just want to get C capped, that way we have priority on the middle of the map. And then I'm going to turn back and take care of the Benson. There's not many DDs I wouldn't mind fighting in this ship. Obviously of the same tier. It's pretty reliable. And again, there hasn't been many DDs that I've actually fought where, you know, I've actually lost. And I suppose that goes into the fact that the turrets are located in a really nice spot. You know, the firing angles are actually pretty nice in general. Again, we get popped by the Hydro. That's the Aegir Hydro. At, I think it's probably 5.5 kilometers. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. If you look there just instantly, the Aegir was like 5.3 kilometers away, and I was still Hydroed. So I'm guessing it's 5.3. That is a new ship, so I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But yeah, that's what my guess would be, or it could be 7 kilometers. Either way, I was detected, and I took a shitload of damage for it. Now at this point, well, I'm just trying to get C capped at this point. I don't want to shoot at anything. I don't want to rock the boat all that much. But if an enemy Burgoyne pushes himself up unnecessarily, I'm going to take my chances. I smoke up, get a little bit of damage out. Now the one thing I need to be wary of at this point is the fact that the left hand flank is pushed, and there could be torpedoes coming straight into C from the Benson. But right now I just see that the smoke is just popped in the Benson, so that means that torpedoes aren't all that much of a threat. What we do see something is the Thunder pushing in for some reason. In a perfect world, that Thunder would be turned 180 degrees and actually pushing away from them and farming the Frederick Globe, but again, in these games you see all types of things that defy common sense. My main issue now, though, is to get spotting on the Benson and kill him, if at all possible. I'm getting radared again, which isn't ideal, but again, I think I can deal with it to an extent. It isn't all that much of a threat. Again, the radar goes out, the Worcester dies. It wasn't so much I was fearing either the Benson or the Moskva, it's just if the Frederick Globe has his turrets turned in time, then he could have shot me to shit, effectively. But that being said, we take a few pot shots on the Benson. That's our main focus right now, taking down the Benson. If we can kill the Benson, then we're pretty much home and dry in this flank, because I can easily farm the Frederick Globe, and the Moskva isn't going to pose all that much of a threat by himself, especially with the power we have on this flank, with the Kremlin, with the Thunder. The Benson decides to pop into smoke though, so we shoot torpedoes at the Frederick Globe. We set a couple fires. He doesn't seem intent on changing his location. I don't think he has Hydro popped. And as a result, he's going to eat a shitload of damage and he's going to die. So, With the Frigate Globe dead, that gives us kind of free reign to actually hunt down the Benson. Again, the Moskva's still there. He's trying to 1v1 the Kremlin though. But we do have the Thunder again, punishing the Burgoyne and the Moskva. So again, that should be something we're pretty reliably going to win. It might not turn out like that, but again, that just kind of happens in these games. It is a random battle after all. So, the Hydro does detect the Torpedoes heading straight for the Thunder. Luckily, the USDDs don't have single Torpedoes. He does end up getting hit by 2, I think, which drops him pretty goddamn low. Now at this point, the Benson could just open fire on me, but he doesn't seem as though he wants to for some reason. So I decided to turn away, create a little bit of distance, wiggle my ass a little bit, in hopes that any of the Moskva shells don't actually hit me. I managed to successfully dodge the first couple, and now I'm just basically waiting for the radar to time out. After it does, I'm going to turn back in, and then I'm going to go hunting the Benson. Now there is a little bit of bias at this point in the game because of the fact that, again, if you look at the top, we only have 1 cap, but again, we're really hardcore winning in terms of ships. So that's why I'm trying to play a little bit, you know, a little bit more adventurous than usual. Usually I wouldn't push into this scenario because even though the Moskva doesn't have radar up, the Burgoyne's right there sitting full broadside with his guns turned in my direction, trying to 1v1 the Thunder. But I guess, you know, we have the Yugomo still up. Even if I die, I can probably 1v1 trade with the Benson, so it's not all that much of a bad trade. Again, if you're winning on points, or if you're winning in general, taking 1v1 trades is more advantageous for you than it is for the enemy team. Pretty much 100% of the time. Luckily, the Benson pulls out of smoke. He decides to shoot, unfortunately, for him, which means he's still detected while I'm smoke covered. The thing that made me pop out of smoke though is the fact that, well, I don't know if he shot torpedoes at me. I had no real way of telling. So I decided just to accelerate just in case. I was sitting full broadside to that salvo, so if it was shot. So it's better to be safe than sorry. Try and dodge the shells from the Moskva and the Burgoyne. Ooh. And we do manage to get undetected. So again, our little gambit did pay off to an extent, but I just as easily could have been detonated right there. Definitely don't advise doing that in pretty much any other scenario other than that one. But that being said, I need to stop saying that so much. A Kremlin does go down, which is a little bit unfortunate. It does even up things a little bit, but again, we do have 2 destroyers to their 2 battleships and a destroyer. We are capping D, which is always nice. And we're going to send out some speculative torps at the Burgoyne. Now, I guess there's a debate that goes back and forth in my head. When do I use single issue torps? When do I use the full spread? My idea is basically if the ship's coming at a certain angle, full on, use torps. Generally when a ship's chasing you, they're not going to change direction all that much. They're not going to zigzag all that much. So if you use the single issue torps in that scenario, the variation isn't going to be all that much. So you can probably get a much higher probability of actually hitting something using the single use torps with a very small angle of deviation from the ship. Now, if ships are a little bit further away and they're sailing maybe not directly at you and they're not chasing you, definitely use the more spread out torps. Because a little small change in their deviation, if they're sailing at more of a broadside angle, can dramatically change where they actually end up by the time your torps reach them. So definitely use this more spread out variation in that scenario. Right now though, we're just trying to push away from the Moskva. Again, the only thing that worries me right now is the radar. That's why, again, very basic principle, putting yourself between a rock and a radar is a very nice thing to do. Again, at this point, I think that's a replay bug though, and yeah, we're basically underwater, even though submarines haven't been introduced to the game yet. But again, I think coming relatively soon, Moskva pops his radar. But now, again, we go back to the DD chart. We need to focus on capping, enemy DDs, and then farming damage. I get radared very quickly. I want to pop behind this island, just so that eliminates the chances of either the bird going or the Moskva actually shooting at me. He does pop off a shot, but again, there's no real risk right there. The Yugamo, unfortunately, it doesn't end so well for him. He decides to accidentally ground. I tell my team the Moskva radar's up. But yeah, the Yugamo grounds, and that ends up being the end of him. I think he pretty much was full HP in that scenario, so that's a pretty massive loss. Again, it is 4-2 at this point. We do have 2 caps each. There's 5 minutes left in the game, and as you'll probably notice, I'm going straight for the cap, which should be the main focus always with DDs. You shouldn't really focus on damage all that much. You should probably sometimes focus on enemy DDs, but it shouldn't be the main priority. Again, caps win games, not the amount of kills you have. Even the best players can't kill the entire enemy team by themselves, so caps are probably the most effective way of winning a game. We see the Moskva pushing into sea. Hopefully I can just match 1-1. If you look on the minimap, I have no clue what the Drake and the Hindenburg are doing. It's like they're going for a picnic for something. It's play like this makes me really want to link a YouTube video or something in the chat. Just so they know what they're doing wrong. Oh my god. Like, there should be no dead ships on here, right here, or right here. Now, at this point, I make probably a fairly massive mistake. We do set a fire on the Moskva, but if you look at the ranges from the Burgon and the Moskva, you can see that they are basically 9 or 10 kilometers away. And generally 9 or 10 kilometers is a really good range to be able to judge where the enemy is in smoke. And as a result, it tends to work pretty well for the Moskva. He does take me out. I do go down. Better idea there would have been just basically sit in a, cap it out, and then go for the damage, you know? Don't risk actually losing the game on basically, you know, some extra damage. Luckily, I think the Moskva does get traded. Yep, he gets a fire on the Moskva. She does get traded. But I think at this point, the Drake and the Hindenburg are just too far away. I'm pretty sure. Or maybe not, actually. I think with a couple of these salvos, they do end the game. Luckily. They do end the game. The game ends. And I hope you learned something from this. But until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Alright.